Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. If you're coming back to us from the first community meeting, welcome to you for the first time. If you're here, we're glad you could join us. I will let them all of our speakers introduce themselves as soon as I'm done here. We're joined by some really, can I say, influential people who I hope are going to be able to listen to our issues and help us out going forward. We're here just to talk about the things that are going on in the neighborhood and the problems that we're all experiencing and looking for some answers. So with that, I'm going to give you the mic. You can introduce yourself and we'll get rolling.
Good evening. My name is Susan Fierlock. I am the Interim Executive Director for Racine Neighborhood Watch.
And I'm Jody Spencer. I serve as the 5th District Racine County Board member.
Hello, my name is Maurice Horton. I am the Alderman for the 7th District.
Hi everyone, Greta Neubauer. I'm the State Representative for the 66th District, which is a good part of the city of Racine.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jody Bloyer. I'm the Chief of Schools for Racine Unified School District. Okay.
So first of all, I'd just like to thank you guys for coming again. Welcome back. This is our second time for those that were here the first time. When we were here the first time, we kind of talked about a lot of issues that we were having in the 7th District. A lot of it was centered around, pretty much policing. It was centered around group homes and also centered around the school district. So as we promised, we tried our best to bring those people, some of the representatives that could help us a little bit further in answering some of the questions that you guys had. I want to thank Supervisor Spencer, who accompanied me the first time in this. So I felt like if we can get more people here to kind of hear the concerns and kind of have some answers for you guys that, that would be great for you guys to take back, and also for our state representative to take back, because some of the things that were asked was on a state level, and as far as our city jurisdiction and county, we didn't have the answers. So I don't know if Pastor want to facilitate it. I don't know how she want people to just ask the questions that they ask, and we'll go from there.
I think that would be me. All I'm doing is holding the mic, so when you want to speak, raise your hand and I'll bring you the mic.
Yeah, I should say that just make sure that you're on a mic when you do speak, because we are recording this for our neighbors who aren't here. And in order to be heard on the videotape, you have to be on a mic. So.
And speak into the mic, not into the antenna, as I was.
So who wants to start?
You do?
Hey, good evening. Thank you, all 5 of you, for joining us. This church has been established here for quite some time. It's one of the oldest Danish churches in Racine, or actually in the U.S., is what I understand. And we want it to continue and flourish. But we've been coming across some problems across the street that we're trying to address tonight. Okay? And that is the safety of the church persons along with the neighborhood, so that everybody can freely move around the neighborhood without any recourse. Now we've got kids coming in from Wadowitz with the afternoon program through Nancy. She does a great job with that. And we've got a lot of older people that come to the church, along with all of you that have homes around the area that are also wishing to make sure they can go outside. So my question would be is what can we as a group do to make the neighborhood safer?
I would.
Okay, last
Can you hear me? Last spring, as our after-school kids were leaving to go home, this was around 5:30 in the afternoon, we had several parents come in and sort of express a little bit of a gas surprise that there was somebody in the window exposing himself. So parents saw this as well as kids, and obviously great concern. And I did call the police. They came out and we gave them quite a long report, but they didn't do anything. You have any questions? It was my understanding, I was communicating with the policeman in the community office, and he confirmed several times that the person had been removed. But according to some neighbors, we're not really sure they got the right person.
Okay. So I did reach out to the Department of Health Services after having some conversations with Maurice and Jody after the last meeting, and they shared with me that he was moved in May of 2022. That's what the managed care organization reported to the Department of Health Services. So I think if you feel that that's not the case, we should probably be having a follow-up conversation about that, as they reported that issue had been addressed.
I just kind of wanted to point out that in the midst of another experience that I'm sure Carol will tell you about in a minute, we did talk to the police about another incident, and he said, you really need to talk to the person in question because he's the one running the show over there. And I said, he's not supposed to be living there. And he said, oh no, he's still living there. So I do think he is still there.
So this is an employee of the group home that is doing these kinds of things. How many of you have cameras on your homes or cameras on the church? Okay.
I spent some considerable time with my camera in the window, and I have taken a lot of pictures.
Okay. Have you given those to police?
No, I have not.
What kind of pictures are they? Are they showing this man committing an act, or
No,
just that he lives there?
He's just outside the building or
Okay.
standing in his doorway.
And who says he's not supposed to be here? Did you say that was the state, Greta? Or okay. So what you can do, if anybody does have a camera, you can actually register the fact that you have a security camera with the police department. Then if something should happen, they can talk with you, you can talk with them. They will provide you a link and you can upload that video. So they will not bother you if they have that information on hand in their database. It's just helpful if something like that happens and you can call, or maybe another neighbor saw that happen. They can go to you and call and say, hey, we had this incident. I see you've got a camera. Can you check and see if you've got that? If you do, here's a link. Can you upload it? You never have to have police come to your door. You never have to speak directly with them if you don't want to. You can be anonymous and upload that.
So that day of that particular incident, I happened to be the one that walked outside, and I saw the man from chest to his knees, and to me, I feel like that man is still there. I don't think that they took out the right person. We've taken pictures, and to me, it's not that person. That person is still across the street.
And this person is employed by the group home?
Yes. Supposedly, he is the manager of that home.
Okay. So, working at Racine Neighborhood Watch, about once a year, we get questions about group homes. So what I've done is I've put together a handout for you. It's probably easier if I end up getting email addresses so I can attach the PDF so that you can just click on the link. But I do this once a year, and new to the Wisconsin Department of Health Services website, there is actually a person that you can talk to. Her name is Mary Beth Hoffman. She's the director of the Southeastern Regional Office. They've also created a link that you can go to, a public link, and record your sightings. And it's a background check and misconduct investigation line. So if you see these types of things, you can go to this link, you can report it. I didn't dig into it enough to see if you can upload the pictures, but this gets you directly to the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. I have them, I can bring them with you. I've got plenty of them, but there are all sorts of tips on here for you. Yes, sir.
What you just stated, therein lies the problem, is accountability. Because I've done extensive research in trying to find licensing for these homes. These homes are not listed on the DHS website.
So are those the homes at 1916 and 1924 Summit?
Summit and on Yelp.
So those two, I had the same question, and when we did a first look for the homes at 1916 and 1924, they were not listed. They are registered through DHS, and so there should be oversight from the Department of Health Services over those homes. Give me the address for the out one after this, maybe, and I can look into 1901. Yeah. So I can check on that one as well, but it does feel like there's a very difficult kind of link here between being able to figure out who's licensed by whom and what's the process to make a complaint and who does the follow-up. So I will just say that, you know, that's a big part of what my office does, is try to be a liaison between individuals and the agency where we can. Often it takes a while. It's kind of a frustrating process. But if you are putting in a complaint and you want to flag that for us, then we can try to track that through the system as well and make sure, you know, I know that they have responded to some complaints, but if there are things obviously that are ongoing, which it sounds like they are, for example, I'll certainly look into this piece around, you know, that this employee seems to be still at the facility. We can try to track those to their conclusion and make sure that you're ultimately getting a response on that, and that the agency is doing due diligence there.
So I did the search for the on the DHS website, and then I was informed that they're not directly licensed by DHS, that they're licensed through MyChoice. So I went to the MyChoice website and I did a search of those addresses through the MyChoice website. I cannot find them on MyChoice as well. I did find the owner on a couple of other addresses. It's called ANS, CBS, you know, Creative Behavioral Services, on a couple of other addresses, but not those addresses. So it bothers me that those particular addresses are kind of like ghost addresses when it comes to licensing, which prevents accountability.
Yeah, I can ask why they aren't listed as well, and I'll look into the 1901 Yout.
I look through partnership. I look through family care.
Right. And so, yeah, obviously for you all to be able then to kind of follow the thread, it's very difficult if you can't figure out who's licensing them. Did you have something?
I did notice that there was a difference between licensing for group homes that have 1 to 2 people that are not related and 4.
Sure, and I did.
Do these have 1 or 2, or do they have 4? I'm not familiar with the licensing for
I did
just a smaller.
I did all those criteria. I also did CBRF as well.
And you don't know how many people are living there?
Well, that's why I used all the different filters.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll carry on. I'll let someone else.
No, I was just curious because there's a difference, I think, in the licensing
Yeah, they have 1 to
procedure.
2, and then they have group homes,
So
3
how-
to 4, and then I believe there's only 1 per home. But like I said, on the My Choice Wisconsin website, I used all the filters.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, I'm right here. Okay. I'm also a neighbor here. My family has lived here in a house across the street from the church since 1957. Never had a problem. People got along, people loved one another, people did their job. Now we have group homes, and this is my question. Not only are there 2 group homes on this side, which are duplexes, which means there's four of them, but the one is a manager. Then there's also a group home, which is a brick house that's down the block on the corner of English and Summit. Then right around the corner from that is another group home, and it was supposed to be a manager living there. I don't know what happened, but there was always someone screaming in that house. His name was Devin or Demon or something, and the poor neighbor next to him, they finally put up a fence. They wanted to buy his house, and that gentleman has just gotten fed up with it. So my question is, why are there so many group homes just in our block? It's not fair. That's my question. The other question I have is in the brick house that is on the corner of English and Summit. There's a gentleman that lives next door to it. He was here last time. He's got little children, and he can't even take them out on their bikes because those people are screaming and hollering in that group home. There's police there constantly. It's not fair to this gentleman who works 16 hours a day. He said he came out of the hood to move there because he thought it would be safe because it's across the street from a church. But it's not safe because he has to take his children someplace else to ride their bikes. I used to walk around the block and do my exercises, but now I don't because I don't feel safe. Now there's some people that are in the group homes are good, but there's some that are constantly screaming. And one gentleman ended up in our backyard. He went into my brother's yard. My husband was so upset we almost had to take him to the hospital because his blood pressure went up so high. And then the gentleman came across the street and ran into the church screaming after the woman that was in church. Now, we should not have to put up with this. We mentioned it all last time in the meeting. We spoke about it. But until people live in this situation, then they don't understand. But we shouldn't have to put up with it because we pay taxes, we do our jobs, we pay for rent on our rent, we pay for our cars, we pay for the upkeep on our cars, we pay for insurance, we pay our way and be good citizens. Now, next to my brother who lives next to me, the young couple that lives next to him that he rented the duplex out to, well, she came out and found this gentleman sleeping in her car. That's not right. That's scary. So this is what I'm saying. Something has to be done. We can't keep passing the buck and keep having these people take pictures and take pictures and take pictures. It's up to the people that are in charge to do something. Not these poor neighbors that are constantly scared to death to go out of their house, go into their car. Are we going to find this man? The gentleman that went over by the church, he was found in my brother's yard sitting there and shaking his head. Well, the caregiver was standing there, looking on his phone, and I said, is he on the right meds? He says, I don't know, I'm just the caregiver. But I said, should he be out? My other question is, why aren't these people that are dangerous put in a place which is an institution where there are more people watching and taking care of them instead of putting them out in the street? There's a lot of these people that have been released that are pedophiles or sex offenders that are in our neighborhood alone, not just in our block, but there's a school. There's Gilmore School, there is Wadowitz, there's Horlick, there's a church here. What happens to all of these people? That's my question. Thank you.
I'd just like to ask when you speak if you could please say your name so that we can get familiar with who you are. Linda Peterson?
I'm really sorry you're going through this, and I see how much it bothers you. And there are some ways that we can at least start to get these things addressed. When you see the scream, or you hear the screaming, and you see people in the neighborhood, have you been calling the non-emergency number?
Constant.
Okay. And what is the response of the non-emergency number when you call a dispatcher? No, call the police. I can't hear you, I'm sorry. Okay. I understand. Since there has been the reduction of police and the services that they're providing, what you can always do, and again, it's the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Every time you see something like that, call the non-emergency number and say, I understand that police may not be able to do this, but I want a complaint number. Get a complaint number. That way you know that the call that you have made is registered in the system. I've got a form, you can fill it in. What this does is create documentation. So talking about it, I understand your frustration, but we need to have documentation for it. So if there's a person screaming and 4 or 5 of the neighbors call and they say, please don't come out, you can say, I need to do a welfare check. I'm very, very concerned about this person. And can I have a complaint number about this? When you write that down and you've got papers and complaint numbers, then you can take that stack and go to your alderman and say, here's the documented proof I called. Here's the fact that it has been documented in the system. The more people that complain and get that documented, the more basically power that you have to make a statement. You can include pictures if you want. Anything you can do to get it documented to prove there is a problem. Start a petition. Let them know that this is an issue. The more information and documentation you can provide and let police know and build that information, the better for you. And it's frustrating. We hear it all the time with things like loud music. But unaddressed loud music can lead to parties, which can lead to sometimes drugs, which can lead to guns, which can lead to shootings. But we understand police can't go out. But the way you word it, that there is someone screaming, I want to do a welfare check, and I want a complaint number. And if they say, we're not going on that kind of complaint, you need to file it online, okay, I'll do that, but I want a complaint number.
I didn't address myself last time when I spoke, but my name is Chuck Wasik. I live right here on Carlisle Avenue. I've lived there for 22 years, and I appreciate what you just shared, but with all due respect, we had a bus accident happen here yesterday, 2 buses that collided, and it could have been avoided had the neighborhood spoke up. A member from the neighborhood was interviewed and said the stop sign was blocked, trees blocking the stop sign. The photojournalist asked the gentleman, did you contact the city? And he said, I will tomorrow. We've already had a meeting. We've already addressed our issues. We've talked about a person exposing himself to children. We've talked about criminal damage to property to this particular building here. We've talked about trespassing. We've talked about disruptive behavior. We've notified the the people that are in charge of this community. We've done our talking. We've contacted the police. I asked Alder Horton to do a survey of how many police calls have been made since 2017 when Kim Ellis bought those buildings over there. I don't know if you did that, sir. You did not do that, okay? Because I asked for those buildings to be called a nuisance building. We're not asking for more conversation. We're asking for an action plan. Okay, we don't need more discussion. We need action to take place. I think the people here are fed up. We don't need to vent anymore. We need an action plan. So that's my question to this panel here today. What action is going to take place? And I think the people behind me would probably all agree with me. What action is going to take place to prevent a tragedy from happening? People have been approached. People are scared. You're hearing them. They're scared. Children walk past those buildings every single day to go to school. Are we going to wait until somebody gets hurt before an action plan takes place? Or are we going to do something before that happens? Do we have to wait for a bus accident to happen before the tree gets cut down? Or is this panel going to take responsibility along with this community to do something to prevent someone from being injured or hurt? Thank you.
We can do it. When I call the police come and say, you know, I need a report, and they say, you don't need a report. We tired too. So how we have that documentation? So it's hard.
You can say that I learned at a neighborhood watch meeting that I need a complaint number. And that's proof. Because sometimes, you know, if they don't punch a form, they call you in, and this sometimes happens with dispatch. If they don't punch a form, they'll say, I'm sorry, police aren't going out on that. And if they don't punch a form, it's never recorded.
The thing is that the police were here with her when they came through the house. I walked into this church early in the morning to work, and the door was open behind me. As I was walking up to my office, someone grabbed me from behind and said, he's trying to kill me, he's trying to kill me. I'm like, what? He's like, lock the doors. I run down to lock the doors. There's an African American standing outside the door in sweatpants with a hoodie over his head, trying to get into the building, like on the door, and I have no idea, is this the guy trying to kill him? So then I go and I hide the guy that's in the building, finds out the guy in the building is actually one of the people from the group home, and the guy outside is actually the person that's supposed to be working for him, but I don't know, so I'm locked in the building with this person. I called the police. They come to take him out. Guess what? There's no report. They didn't write it down. They said, just what she said, we're tired of it. We're just as tired of you. There's nothing we can do. And when you call the police and they don't even want to make a report. I was here the day also that they broke out of the home over there. They came. I'm in my office and I hear this loud shatter. And I'm like, what the heck was that? Come to the front door. They were so high on their drugs that they actually kicked in our glass doors and destroyed the front of the church and tore out our mailbox. And I'm like, what the heck? The caregiver comes after him and he starts attacking the caregiver. And the caregiver says, man, I can't do nothing. I can't touch him. And then the police come out and the police say the same thing to me. We can't touch him either. And it's the middle of COVID the first time it happened. The guy's spitting in everybody's face. There ain't a dang thing we can do. And guess what's really sad? Is that we can't open these doors for church or for our community. We actually have to have everybody buzz the door. We can no longer be in service to our community, and that is pathetic.
I want to just circle back to Chuck. So the last time we were here, and we hear, and I've talked to Miss Peterson a lot of times. I even went out to her house a couple times out here to try to find ways for the group home. The second part is when we came the first time, it was just me and Supervisor Spencer. So we spent probably about almost a month to get the other people here today to give you guys other avenues to do this. The only person that we did miss tonight was bringing an officer out here who couldn't be here tonight. But it seems like even with the officer, we might have to go up the chain of command to like either a deputy chief or a chief, because you guys are saying things like, oh, nobody is doing filling out complaints. Nobody is answering, giving us no answers out there, which this body here, probably unless it's something that goes in front of Fire and Personnel Committee, where things could be done as far as just policy and procedure, why are officers coming out saying there's nothing I could do? So yeah, it would cause frustration. I had a group home on my block too. I had somebody banging on my door, asking me to open the door because somebody was out to kill her. And she just constantly, all night long, she came back about 12 a.m. When the police did come, her daughter was trying to corral her in my front yard, and I went out. It was almost like 1 o'clock in the morning. I was like, hey, you guys got to take her somewhere. You guys got to take her with you. I don't know where you guys are going to take her. And they said to me, unless she requests to go, we're not able to take her anywhere. I say, officer, it's about 1:30 in the morning. I say, she's having an episode, but if she did not say, and so even the daughter was begging, take her, please take her. You know, I think she need help. I don't know what she got a hold to, but without her permission, she was not going anywhere. And so they brought her back. And the next night she came back and did the same thing. And so this problem is like, it's not as easy to fix. Like, and really, I try to get, when I have things on my plate, I try to do as much as I can within a 24-hour period. I try to call as many people as I can. To your other thing about the bus stop today, Channel 4 called me several times, and they asked me, Alderman, have anybody called you about a complaint about this sign? The answer was no. No one had never called me to say that that sign had something blocking it, because then I would have told them, like, okay, this is my next step. My next step was to call the departments that's involved, call the people that are involved, and say, hey, listen, Park and Rec, there's a sign out there that it's not visible. The other part of it today is that we also asked the owners, and that might be them coming in, I don't know if that's them or not, to come out here today too. And so the county reached out to them to say, hey, these are some of the issues that we're having, and the people in this area. So I'm hoping that's them. Not sure, but to get some answers from them, like, you know, to answer your question, Chuck, like, what is the next plan or thing? What can we do with what we have going on? Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
He, this man, and I don't know his name, I think it's Aaron, is an owner of one of the group homes.
He's not the owner, he's the manager.
The whole thing is see something, say something. You hear it with Crime Stoppers. Perfect example with the tree. Don't count on somebody else to call. Please just call. But they didn't on the tree. So this is, I mean, this is an example where I understand that. Okay. Right. Another thing I would suggest is, since we have not been able, you have not, has anybody met your community policing officer, Officer Travis Brady? Yes, no? You are welcome. We have a neighborhood watch meeting at the COP house the third Tuesday of every month. It starts at 6 o'clock. You are very welcome to come and express your views and let other neighbors know, because I know there are other neighbors on the other side of the street that are closer to the COP house that are having the same issues as you are. So you're welcome to come to the neighborhood watch meeting that we have. Again, it's the third Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Nice to meet you.
Sure. Hi. Good evening. My name is Aaron, and I'm from ANS. We own multiple adult family homes on Summit Avenue. With me tonight, I did bring some of my members of leadership, Amber, John, and Jerry. So thank you for having us, and I am open to your questions and feedback, and trying to make this work for everybody. Questions?
So,
Okay. Yes. Oh. Okay. So the addresses are 1924, 1916, 1828 Summit. I believe those are the ones in question. The Yout and 1924 are connected. They're a side by side.
So Aaron, I just want to thank you for coming out tonight, because there have been a lot of questions, a lot of concerns, and as far as the alderman of the 7th district and the county board supervisor and our state representative, we can only answer so much. So I'm glad that you came out. These are our constituents in the 7th district. There's a lot of concerns about the group home. There's a lot of things that are going on that I don't know if you're privy. Your management team is here. Thank you guys for coming out. So maybe we can get some clarity of action plans, some things that have happened. There are homeowners that have been here over 27 years, 30 plus years, and some, parents own the home. So again, this would be the opportunity. And I know there has been frustration, but this will be the opportunity that some of these things can be answered and cleaned up over on Summit.
Excuse me, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Aaron,
Yes.
where do you live?
Right across the street.
What's your address?
1920.
Do you have a twin?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a question about the person that was removed from that incident of him exposing himself to the children that attend the after-school program. Now, I can understand there's probably like HIPAA laws and all these other laws that would prevent you from sharing it, but how are we guarantee that that person has actually been removed from the place? We have no proof of that.
I understand your concern, and thank you for bringing that to my attention. Once the incident was fully investigated, we worked closely with the Racine Police Department, the district attorney, as well as DHS, his guardian, and care team. I would be willing to provide you correspondence of proving that. I would just have to redact any personal information to secure privacy.
Hi, my name's Spencer. I've lived across the street my whole life, and this was a nice neighborhood. This has always been a nice neighborhood until about 5 years ago. And 5 years ago, you guys decided to come in, and I'm going to address what she was asking, because there's the duplex on the end, then the one on the other side of you, and the window, the height of the window is up to your chest. And the only way anybody could see somebody if they were exposed is at 1920, where the window goes to the ground. Otherwise, they had to be standing on a ladder, exposing themselves. Oh.
So
but it was at your address.
No, I'm next door. That address is 1916.
Okay.
And when this initial incident was brought to my attention, we were absolutely cooperative with the police. I believe May 12th of 2022, when it was first brought to my attention, the police did question if it was me. I was fully cooperative. Obviously, it wasn't. Then, not the next Sunday, but the Sunday after that, the police returned and asked to speak with the member in the adjoining home. And this person did admit to standing on their bed in their bedroom to do that. Once we got that confirmation, we had him relocated within 24 hours.
Okay, then I apologize.
No,
Then
don't
I apologize.
apologize. I want to be very clear. I want to be open and transparent, and I get that there's going to be some difficult conversations. I'm not opposed to that. So as long as we can continue to communicate respectfully, that's why we're here. So I get it. This is a great neighborhood. I'm in the neighborhood, so it kind of makes me laugh when people say, "Oh, you don't know what it's like to live next to a group home." Well, no, you're wrong. I do, and that's part of the reason why I stay in the neighborhood, so that if there are issues or concerns, I can address them as quickly as absolutely possible with my clients, with my staff, and for the neighbors. I could very easily relocate and be like, no, that's not me. I'm here for my community, which includes the clients in my care and obviously all of you. So I appreciate it, but let's continue this dialogue. It's great.
I understand. Okay, another thing is, if you go down the block and you look through the neighborhood, everybody's got a decent looking yard, except yours.
Yep.
I mean, come on.
No, you're right.
I mean, it looks like crap.
Yep. Thank you, and that is something that I will continue to address.
I drive by it twice a day,
Sure.
and I'm like, man, you need help. If you need help moving stuff, I'd be glad to.
No, I appreciate that. I will fix it. And before I leave today, I can give you my contact information. That goes for everybody in the room, as well as my leadership. We have a 24-hour on-call system. I've shared that number with people. Feel free to let us know of issues, concerns, and maybe even one day, hopefully, something positive that you might see from us. But again, we're here to try to be as collaborative with everybody as possible.
This may sound rude, and I don't really want to be rude, but I am the person that communicated with you on multiple occasions over the damage done to this building. If you remember, my name is Carol, and you made a lot of commitments to us for people to be responsible, pay for the damages and stuff, and not one thing ever happened on your end. We ate the whole bullet of everything that had to be done. So no disrespect, but what you say doesn't hold water with me because you made a lot of commitments that you didn't hold to.
No disrespect taken. I did do everything within my power to try to have this individual's responsible parties reconcile it, and I was very, very swiftly shut down. So I apologize.
Did you contact us or say anything back to us? No, you just let it fall. So I have a hard time once
I understand
again
that.
saying that I hold water with your commitment, and as well as you're the manager, you live across the street. How many of your clients are out running in our neighborhoods, walking into our buildings and scaring us? I manage a business as well as a director of this outreach, and if I performed in that way, I guarantee you there would be reprimands towards me. So that's what I'm saying. I hold you accountable if you're the manager over there, and no disrespect, but there's a poor job being done.
My name is Chris Lamberton. I'm a member of the Emmaus Lutheran Church. One question that was brought up before that nobody was able to answer. How many residents are in each one of those buildings? I don't believe that should be public knowledge.
We have no more than 2 people in any of our facilities.
That would be 2 people plus a manager?
A staff person.
Or staff person.
Correct.
Okay. And these individuals are stable to be in the neighborhood and everything else? Is that a correct statement?
So there are certain legal standards that the clients that are in our care are entitled to. And I will tell you this, that when we've identified any of our members, our clients, in a moment of distress, we don't take that lightly. We do everything we possibly can within our legal rights to update their psychiatrists, their counselors, seek medication changes, work with the county, work with their families if they have them, to try to get those individuals back to an optimal mental health status. We have done so much with certain members in our care when we've said, we cannot help them anymore. This person does need a much more higher level of care, and we are left with, oh, shoulder shrugs. Well, you signed up for this. Yes, you're right, I did sign up for this, and if we need to, we add additional staffing. We have our own crisis team. We are, again, communicating with EMS, law enforcement, with the hospitals. We've done something called an emergency termination of services, so that at that point, it's telling the hospital to contact DHS and say that this person needs to be temporarily transferred to a higher level of care because they are a threat to themselves and or others. And that is just the provider. I am just the group home. I am not a legal decision maker for the members, and my hands are tied. I've literally gotten into arguments with a lot of the same people that you may have called and expressed your concerns about, because we're saying that this person is not currently in a state to be able to live safely in their community. And I understand it's very annoying when one of our members is having a difficult afternoon and they're running around and screaming and swearing. We don't take that lightly. If we are legally allowed, we install cameras and additional locking systems for the homes to not lock them in, but to try to decrease the likelihood of them becoming disruptive while in the community. And again, they have legal rights, and sometimes we can do that and sometimes we can't. What's that? And you know, it's, and I'm not saying this out of the people that are in our care aren't known to be the easiest to take care of. And oftentimes that means that their natural supports, family, friends, are non-existent. I have people that have lived with me for years. Their families have never come to see them. They're not going home for holidays. So when I'm telling you at times it is just me and my team fighting tooth and nail for what the right thing for our clients is, that's not an understatement at all. And I get the frustration, but I'm telling you, I'm literally doing everything I possibly can to try to make this happen for my client to be safe, stable, be able to continue living happily and safely in the community, but then the community also not being disrupted when that person's having a hard day. It's not as simple as us being able to go and pick up a medication at the pharmacy. You know, we're calling, having to get consent, having to have it picked up, there's so many different legal steps that we have to do. That we can't. Yeah, you and I have a hard day. We're going to go home and have a beer, right? No, that's not anything that we can do for our clients. There are so many obligations and regulations and restrictions that we choose to make sure we're following because we do want to be able to continue to provide those services. And I get it. Like I said, I know it's frustrating that when they're having a hard day, they do become so disruptive, but I'm telling you, we don't take it lightly.
Do you vet these people before you bring them into your group homes or allow them to come into your group homes?
The clients or the staff? The answer to yes is both. Obviously, the interviewing process is very lengthy, and then there's a training. Typically, if we get a...
That's the staff you're talking about
Correct.
right now?
Yes.
Okay.
In a perfect world, yes. We get an opportunity to receive some written information about them, and then we arrange for at least one face-to-face, what we call an assessment. That's figuring out what can we do differently to make them safe, happy, successful in the community. Unfortunately, there are times that we get a call from the state or from one of the member-centered organizations, MCOs, that are responsible for placement of these people. Hey, we've got someone, their provider just kicked them out. Can you help us? No, I mean, what am I supposed to say? Where is this person going to go? They're going to go to stay in the hospital? I can't tell you how many times that's happened. And if I can help, I try to, even if it's just a safe place for them to go until their responsible parties have found a long-term successful placement for them.
So the provider would be the personal relative or friend that's been caring for them, or another group home that says, hey, I've had enough of this. I got to find someplace else for them. Can you take them off my hands?
All of the above.
So you know that information prior to bringing in the clients, correct?
Sometimes, yes. But again, sometimes it's just not safe for them to stay where they're at.
Yeah, well, that's, yeah, exactly. Follow up, is it safe to bring them here then?
We hope. I mean, that's the goal.
But if they've been kicked out of another home, okay.
Yeah, I see your point.
And another home that's equal to you or less, and they're kicking them out.
I see your concern. I wouldn't necessarily say that the level of care that we provide has been equal to what they were receiving before we get the call for help. Sometimes it is, oftentimes it isn't. Sometimes the person's been removed due to abuse or neglect, or the MCO is discontinuing their contract with that group home, that home, and they just have to get them out. Just this morning, I got a call about 4 people needing placement, and if I had the staff, I'd help. I just don't, and I can't, and it kills me because they do need help. So again, I see your point. I'm sure you don't like my answer, but sometimes they just need a place to go that's safe until they can find a better place for them.
One last question,
Sure.
and I'll pass it on to somebody else. Your staff, thank you for coming. I appreciate that. What type of training or what kind of education, whatever background do you have that would make an adequate staff?
So if you work in any of the human services, you have to complete some background information disclosure form, which allows us to perform what is called a caregiver background check. So then that is submitted to the Department of Justice website for Wisconsin. It's usually their name, date of birth, male, female, race. Used to include social security number, doesn't anymore. And then it generates, I know, it's very frustrating.
Well, yeah, I'm a Boy Scout leader, and I have to disclose my social security to do a background check to work with youth.
Yep.
And you can't, okay.
No. So, no, I get it. You're 100% correct. I'm saying it is very frustrating. It's still on the website, but the new paper form that the individual fills out that gives us the information to input into the database no longer requires the social security number. It's through, the website is the Department of Justice through Wisconsin. Yeah, DOJ Works. Correct, yes. And so in addition to that, we are given a list of, I don't want to say red flags, but you cannot legally hire this person. So then if they proceed to the interviewing process, we do so. If they are, if we agree to hire them, they go and get a physical TB test, and then it's 2 weeks training. It's about 50% classroom-based and another 50% hands-on with a seasoned employee in one of the homes. And then they're evaluated, and their training packet needs to be reviewed and signed off on before they are taken off of training, which would then allow them to be able to work independently with a client.
So there's no education, no gateway
Not for
classes,
direct
nothing
care.
at all for that?
No.
No degrees?
Not for direct care, no.
Okay. I'm going to pass it on. Who?
Sure.
Thank you very much for
No
your
problem.
answers, even though, like you say, I'm not satisfied with it.
I'm taking notes, and I will do what I can to work on that.
Aaron,
Yes, sir.
my oldest son's name is Aaron.
Oh, good choice.
Thank you. You identified yourself as one of the owners?
Correct.
You're not the manager, you're one of the owners
Correct.
of ANS or those group homes?
The group homes. So the full name is ANS Creative Behavioral Solutions. My partner has other ANS entities, but I'm only involved in the adult family homes.
Who's Kim Ellis?
She's my partner.
Okay. How many group homes does ANS own altogether?
13.
Just 13,
Correct.
statewide?
Yes.
Okay. Why is it that I cannot find those addresses on the DHS or My Choice website?
I can't answer about My Choice, but we are certified because we only take up to 2 people in our homes. If we were licensed by DHS, we would be under the Adult Family Home Registry, which would be available on the DHS website.
Okay.
Maximum
So,
two.
Which program are you working with? My Choice
My Choice and Inclusa.
and
Inclusa.
Inclusa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's one I have not heard yet.
They're relatively new to the area, I guess. They do not have a Racine office presence. I do believe they have a regional office in Kenosha that might manage their Racine and Kenosha placements and employees and things of that nature. I don't believe they're in Milwaukee, but they are in Waukesha, and then as you head further,
All right,
pretty much
I
everywhere
appreciate
else.
that. I'll
Sure.
investigate that further. Okay, so we're all here because we've met once before. This crowd is very frustrated.
Sure.
Okay. You said to him that as he was talking, you understand him, but I don't think you understand the depth of our frustration.
Okay.
We've lived here. We're invested here. We're taxpayers. Half of your clients' insurance comes from Medicaid. Our tax dollars, 20% of the state budget goes to Medicaid, which is, you're a for-profit company.
Mm-hmm.
That's where your money comes from. We're frustrated. There's been, as we've heard, some indecent exposure that's taken place. There's been criminal damage to property, trespassing. Gentleman back there had to go to the hospital. A lot of disruptive behavior.
Who had to go to a hospital?
Gentleman that was.
He was here.
Okay. Not that it minimizes anything. I
It
just
doesn't minimize it, but
I didn't. Oh, I said not that minimizes
one of your
anything.
clients just charged into his backyard, and
Okay.
so there's been countless police calls to your facilities. Am I just?
What's that?
Am I?
I was silencing it so I could pay attention to
Okay,
you.
all right. So the question that I posed to the panel prior to your arrival was, enough of the talk. What's the plan of action going to be? So I appreciate your being here.
Sure.
Because that's the question that I want to pose to you. Okay. So hopefully that you and Kim Ellis, is that Kim a female or a
Yes,
male?
female.
Female, okay. So what can you and Kim Ellis do to assure us that we are going to have a safe community? I'm sure you heard of the bus situation yesterday, okay? Everybody knew that the tree was in the way and the stop sign was blocked, but nobody took any action. They all talked about it, right? We've talked.
Okay.
Okay. There's already been a lot of problems with the clients from your facilities. We've talked about it. We're done talking. But we're looking for some action to take place to assure us that our community that was safe before your arrival is going to be safe from this point on.
Okay.
So what can you do to assure us so that we don't have to take the action to make sure that it is?
Well, like I said, I would like to make sure that everybody has my contact information so concerns can be brought to our attention and we have the opportunity to address it. Not only are these members of my leadership, but they also participate in that on-call rotation. There is someone on call, not me, there's someone from leadership on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if I'm made aware of an incident, I'm contacting whoever's on call so that we can reconcile it immediately, not a week later, a month later, after it's trickled down and I've found out about the concern second or third hand. I want to know concerns so we can address it immediately. If we're able to relocate a client within less than 24 hours, we can problem solve other things that are concerns of the neighborhood as well. We have a very dedicated team. We can make things happen if we know about it. I get that those might be difficult conversations. We can have those. I'm not going to take things offensively as long as we continue to treat and talk with respect towards another and about my clients. But let me know these issues and concerns so I can fix them. not wait till I get a call from Racine County and then
Excuse me, I don't think you understand my question. I don't want to have an incident. I don't want to talk to you
Sure.
after the incident.
Okay.
I want to know what you're going to do to prevent incidences from occurring. That's my question.
Well, in a perfect world, I would know exactly what one of my members is going to do when they're having a hard time. And in a lot of cases we can, but in a lot of cases we can't. We would then need to continue to make sure that we are in communication with their legal representatives and placement teams so that any proactive status we do is legally allowed for them. We've started installing what's called a magnetic lock, maglocks, that require a fob to be waved in front of to not only gain access into the home, but then for certain individuals to be able to disengage those locks from the inside to be able to go out. Legally, where we can place cameras, we've been placing cameras. Again, constant consultations with their physicians, psychiatrists, counselors, things of that nature to make sure that, nobody deserves to be over-medicated. They need to be on medications that are going to treat the conditions and diagnoses that are presenting to be challenges for them and for you guys as well as the community. I guess the only other thing I can say right now, and if you would like to schedule a follow-up, a proactive, preventative follow-up, I'm going to take the information that was shared with us today and circle back with my entire leadership team of about 9 different people and brainstorm. And again, if we need to have another conversation and you can give us feedback, if it's an agreeable resolution and we are legally allowed to do it, I would be for it. Again, I know that's probably not the answer that you want to hear, but I have to operate with maintaining the...
I think this whole crowd is looking
I get it. I get it.
Is looking for action.
Sure.
Every time there's a problem with one of your clients and one of your workers, caregivers, they constantly tell us there's nothing we can do. We have a hands-off policy until they... So the police say the same thing. There's a hands-off policy. And for me, everything that you do, like you can move them out of the home, that is putting a Band-Aid on a wound that just goes from one neighborhood to the next neighborhood to the next neighborhood to the next neighborhood. I not only want this neighborhood to be safe, I want every neighborhood to be safe.
The employers is not really have education how work with that people, and you'd say too are not really you sure that people is not danger. How you feel when you hear that? You feel safe?
Could you phrase that a different way? I was having a hard time hearing.
She's talking about the training that your staff has.
Okay.
Okay. And you've got 2 weeks of your
Training.
upper managed training, and
onboarding.
that's it.
No, not necessarily. No.
That's what we understood.
I'm
when
sorry.
you
I
answered the
apologize.
question.
I was answering just the initial onboarding portion, the initial
I'm
training.
talking about, for the staffing. I mean,
So,
The fact that you don't know if this person is safe when they're removed from their one home and you bring them and don't really know what they're doing wrong, should that make us feel good that you don't even know the extent of what they're capable?
I was answering a question honestly, ma'am.
she's talking about the clients, and
Sure.
she's talking about the staff.
So that's their initial.
Oh, the clients? I'm sorry, the clients. The whole story is the clients.
Correct. So can you paraphrase the question about how we handle an emergency admission, or?
Yeah, because you say I mean, how you can help to fix this when I can see in your hands there are a lot of things to do.
Okay.
But there's my question is how you can help and now no, because we start again with process and talk again, and this is go around and never done. We need a thing really, because this is almost 1 year ago, and nobody feels safe. So I worry for that.
Okay.
I worry for me because I live in the next door, and they scare me too.
Okay.
So
I can't control if you are scared of the clients. Everybody has a different comfort level, and that's completely respectable.
Home at 6 o'clock in the morning.
I'm aware.
Tried to break in her home. I would be afraid too. It was dark out, and here's this big man trying to break into her home, and it was one of your clients.
control the situation. I asked for help to fix the situation or better situation.
Sure.
No control the situation. It's not expect.
Again, and when one of our clients does have any type of behavior, not even something as extreme as what you're describing, we do try our best within our parameters, our legal authority, to address those and reconcile them as quickly and appropriately as possible. Amber right here, all she does is medical appointments. She's constantly in communication with the psychiatrist for our clients. Our philosophy is, okay, if they're having a lot of behaviors, are they in pain and they can't express it? Let's call their doctor, make sure that they don't have something going on. We are constantly trying to problem solve. I just can't legally disclose that to people about taking John Doe to see Dr. Smith on this day about that. And I get it, you're right, you want to see a difference, you want to see change, and I'm going to problem solve and see what we can come up with. Hold on, Jerry, just a second, please. And then as far as, there wasn't a question about the ongoing training or how we handle that? It was just completely about the onboarding or? Okay, just making sure. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a background in human services.
Okay.
So I understand why and maybe I'm wrong, but these group homes exist because decades ago they decided to deinstitutionalize people with mental health problems. So I see why. My mother suffered from mental illness too. So I was a caretaker for a while, so I understand that piece. However, when it gets to the point where it's safety, and maybe it's not up to the legal standards that your regulations call for, but it is for us because we have children who come here. They've seen things, they've heard things. Our program's going to start back up in a couple of weeks. All last year we dismissed in the alleyway, what disrupted our neighbors coming in and out of their garages.
Sorry to hear that, I didn't know that.
Just to avoid another incident with the clients. So I understand. However, we have children who come here. We have children, and I live around the corner, and I see some of your clients, they walk around, they don't bother me. They did nothing, but sometimes they bother other neighbors. Mm-hmm. So it is a concern. My main concern is the children that are going to start coming back here in a couple of weeks. We're dismissing back in the front, and for them to see your clients running around, cussing at each other, or even just in this past May, right before we let out, one of the clients actually walked downstairs while we were in session, and we had no idea until we looked up. We had to shut the doors where the kids were. I shut the door with my kids, and I walked up and said, hey, you know what's going on? Oh, he's trying to kill me. I said, oh yeah, would you like to take a walk with me and tell me about that? And he did. And the worker was a few steps behind, walking behind him, and I was able to lead him right directly out of the building. We called the police again because we wanted a report. The policeman came and said, well, he was kind of hesitant and said, well, we really can't do much about it. Did he end up giving us the report number? No, he didn't even file a report for it. So again, it's mental health issues is something we understand and we can empathize with. But it's when it comes to the safety of others, there has to be more that can be done about it.
I agree with you 100%. So the politically correct term for the clientele that we take care of are developmentally disabled, intellectually disabled, or dual diagnosis, okay? The problem is, if a person has an intellectual disability or a developmental disability, the Chapter 51 standards that would result in an emergency detention are very difficult to prove. They say, well, that behavior is not a result of their mental illness, that behavior is a result of their disability. My point is, this person is in distress, lying in the middle of the road, running in and out of traffic. I've called you, I've got 15 people here trying to keep this person safe. Racine County Crisis comes, Racine Human Services come, and they literally, oh, not our problem, they don't meet the criteria. Okay, you're leaving, we're going to be calling you back in 5 minutes because they are still acting unsafe. And to answer your question about hands off, we have to obtain permission from the state of Wisconsin to apply what's called restrictive measures or any type of restraint. That is a process of submitting an application, signed consents, updated service plans, updated behavioral support plans. It goes to their I know, believe me. And the best person in the world could write the original one. It is always rejected, sent back for revisions. It is nothing that can be done in anything less than 2 months. And while at that point, because we've started the application process, that could potentially allow us to then legally still be able to do that, that's another Band-Aid, because that person is still in distress. I get it, I don't like it either, but we have to operate to maintain their legal rights. So that answers the question about hands off.
Okay, follow up on that question, and this gentleman wants to speak next.
Sure.
The hands-off policy, when was the last time you applied for that?
So it isn't a global thing. It isn't agency-based. It is per client, because you're submitting information.
So each client has to be applied for in order to be able to do this?
Correct, yes.
You can't do it because of safety for the client or safety for the staff?
You can once every 6 months. After that, it is determined to be abuse. But at the same time, if we've only done it that one time in a 6-month period, we're not rationalizing the need for the application.
Okay, this gentleman would like to speak. Can you say your name, please?
My name's Sean.
Hi.
I came a little late because I was sleeping, but what was your reason for coming here again?
I was asked to.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Do you have any kids?
No.
You don't?
No.
Do you have nieces and nephews?
I do.
Do they come visit you at your place?
No.
Why?
I'm always working.
Oh, okay.
It has nothing to do with this. I've taken clients in my care on family dinners. They've met my family, but as far as me, my nieces and nephews coming to visit, no, I don't have a life. I'm always at work.
It's probably like 3 different group homes that I know of that's right here. 1, 2, 3. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but having 3 group homes in that small of an area, that's just cause for chaos, you know?
I can see your point, but it also allows for a quicker response time from our leadership and our crisis team.
And it's also more people that have problems that's in that area, right?
I can understand that, yeah.
There's more people that can blow up at any moment, and then you got more stuff going on. My sister, she has 2 group homes.
Mm-hmm.
She would never put 2 group homes on the same block.
Okay.
Let alone in the same area. It's like you got this whole place cornered. You guys didn't ask nobody if you can even have it there. And then it's like I think the whole thing is just about money. It doesn't have anything to do with helping nobody or anything like that. I think the whole thing is about money, because I know people who have group homes and it's all about money.
Sure.
It's all about money. It has absolutely nothing to do with them trying to save somebody or trying to be good to the world, or it's all about money? What is it for you? What was your calling to open up all of these group homes?
Because I worked in ones where the owners were money hungry and didn't give a damn about the clients.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, I just swore in church. State your name, please.
Hi, my name's Missy Porcaro. I grew up in this neighborhood. I no longer live in the neighborhood, but I am a member of this church. So, a couple things. I know there's some short-term things that I think could be possibly done to help with the safety of our kids, our after-school kids, and maybe some long-term things that maybe Greta could address at the state level. Like this gentleman said, it is probably about the money, but I don't want to see you send somebody to another group home, to another neighborhood that then has to deal with that problem person. So, at the state level, is there some way that you can get some laws passed that don't allow group homes to be, is that me making the noise? That don't allow these group homes to be placed in neighborhoods where there are schools, where there are churches, and frankly, where there are good law-abiding, tax-paying neighbors. And that would be something maybe on you, Greta. But to get back to Aaron, and maybe what you might be able to do to help again with the safety of our kids. At dismissal time, is it possible that you could keep your clients, your residents inside between certain time to a certain time that you could work out with our staff? And secondly, to prevent something happening like happened to Carol, where one person was chasing another person and she didn't know who was who, is there any way that your caregivers could wear some sort of a uniform? It doesn't have to be scrubs, but some kind of a shirt or a jacket that identifies who they are. Now, see, those to me are two short-term things that maybe could happen immediately. Some of these other things, like state licensing, etc., it's going to take long time. But at least maybe Greta could get started on that, or at a community-wide level, or at a city-wide level, just so that the neighbors don't have to keep calling, and it's not just all on us, it's on our elected leaders.
So I was actually going to follow up about the release time for the after-school program, that we would consider double staffing where is needed, having an extra level of our crisis team or our on-call members available to help redirect and engage with the clients to prevent as best as we can legally for them from eloping during that time. And we are actually in the process of getting shirts with our logo, as well as the title for our crisis members. It's called Crisis Stabilizer on the back. We do have IDs that our staff are issued as well, with their picture and their title on it. So thank you for that, and if you can think of any other suggestions, please feel free to let me know.
What is the current ratio of staff to clients?
The majority are 1-to-1, so one staff person to one client.
So you've got 8 clients, correct? 2 per house.
We have no more than 2 per house, is what I said.
Correct, and you've got 4 houses, correct?
Okay.
So that's 8.
Okay.
4 houses, 2 clients, 8 people. Well, he was...
Oh. Some of them only have 1.
All right. So you have a staff always there, 24/7, for each individual that's there.
If not more, yes.
So then I'm kind of curious. How do some of these individuals, these clients, get across the street without your staff knowing about it and being able to do some of the things like breaking into a car, scaring people, indecent exposure? How can that go on if you've got a 1-for-1 on everybody?
Staff have check-in duties regarding medications. They are encouraged to encourage the client to do an activity that they can do independently, a puzzle, video game, while they're doing those things. Staff have to go to the bathroom. Staff have to go to the basement and change laundry at times. We had members sneak out of windows. So we've rectified that by securing the windows so they can still open, which we legally have to do, but not large enough for a body to be able to escape from. We've done things as far as purchase watches that have data plans and GPS locators. Can't force the person to wear it.
I'm just making sure I'm not the only one that, if anybody else has any comments.
Sure.
Please. Yeah, here we go.
So do the residents have social workers, other
Yes.
types of workers that come and check on them?
Correct.
Sorry, sir.
So you say the staff wear IDs?
They're issued IDs. They're told to wear them, yes.
The staff that I have seen in the community around here do not wear them when.
Thank you for that feedback. I'll make sure that we follow up with it.
Is that the same experience that you've? Yeah, so it's hard to tell who's the client and who's the staff member.
I have a quick question on the state level. I understand a few years ago, a decade ago, too, they decided the institution wasn't the way to go. And in some cases, I understand. You get the people out there, they get rehabilitated, able to get into society, which is great. But it seems like if we're having to one-on-one in a group home, you got to pay somebody 24/7. How is that more economical? Because the state, I'm assuming, is paying for the group home. I assume part of it at least. So I would think somebody ought to do is crunch some numbers and go, wait a minute, maybe this wasn't a good idea. And I'm not trying to take the business away from you. I'm just stating as a taxpayer, somebody might want to think about this.
So, you know, I wasn't there for all of this, and I won't claim to be an expert in this regulation, but there are, of course, more intensive facilities, more intensive mental health facilities for people who, you know, are not able to be in a group home setting. Clearly, it is difficult to figure out, right, where someone is and what is an appropriate setting for them, often on first blush. And figuring out, you know, is someone likely to harm themselves or other people? Is this going to be a safe location for them? Do they need to go somewhere more intensive? Had many conversations. I'm sure that some of you are aware that when someone is having a mental health crisis in Racine, it's really hard to find a place for them to go because hospitals don't have that care locally. And so often our first responders are taking people hours away to take them somewhere that's appropriate for them to get their care. So there really is a whole infrastructure here that obviously is struggling under the weight of being able to make sure people have the appropriate services for them. And, you know, I think I will say that there are really good reasons, right, why we don't take people out of their community and put them far away, somewhere their family can't visit, somewhere that feels like they're in prison for having a mental health issue or a disability, right? And obviously we need to make sure that there's this balance. So, you know, before kind of we are wrapping up here, I will just echo again that, you know, folks can find my contact information, and I'm always happy to be in touch on these if you have thoughts about, you know, regulation at the state level. And, you know, I'm happy to be in touch with you all as well. You know, there are things that I'm sure that you all could use in terms of additional resources to make sure that you're able to function well, right? And the state isn't always keeping up its end of the bargain to make sure that they have the ability to staff appropriately and be able to give the best service to their clients, right? So there's a lot of that long-term work that I think we can continue trying to do as well.
Any further questions out in the crowd here, please? All right. Anything further?
I just want to reinforce what Susan said from Neighborhood Watch, that we aren't everywhere. We don't know things. You are experiencing these things And if we don't hear about it or the police don't know, we can't do anything. So the documentation and getting the complaint number and making the calls and not waiting, but doing it over and over and over again, if that's what needs to be done, is how they're going to know Summit Street is a problem. Summit Avenue is a problem, and, you know, maybe we should drive by more. Maybe we should pay attention. One of the things that hasn't been addressed, and I know it's getting late, is the concern that staff is sometimes not always in the house, but they might be outside on their phones, or they might be questionably doing some questionable activities, and that hasn't come up.
Make them develop common sense? No. Tell them all the time, you never know when someone's going to stop by. You never know when leadership or my crisis team is going to pop in. That's something that we've been implementing house by house, and we're going to continue to be able to do so. We're able to get a live feed of it on our phone, so we can see those things in live time, and then just being able to follow up with them as we can. Could we schedule a follow-up meeting, even if it is just a handful of us in a month? Or, again, I'd like to make sure that I leave my contact information. I do want to come across as wanting to work with everybody as much as I possibly can.
And I think that's probably up to the pastor, because she kind of put this thing together. But I would just like to say it, you know, I want to thank the constituents for coming out tonight. I hope, and Aaron, you coming out tonight and your leadership team. But I do agree with Chuck that we have to have some type of solutions to this, you know, because when things are wrong in the neighborhood, then I'm called, and so when I'm called, then I have to respond. You know, so hopefully that, you know, there were some short-term solutions from the lady that left, Missy, from about the shirts, about the IDs, and then the other part of it is, and I hope that you can share your contact information. It seems like you live right across the street. Oh yeah, you're right across the street. So, you know, the first time we had this meeting, this is my first time meeting you, so I didn't know anything but to try to search for people. We brought Neighborhood Watch out just to have them to talk about some of the other things that can put in place, because a lot of times people don't like the police at their home. They don't want to be no retaliatory stuff going on with their homes. But then she just came up with a way that if you do have a doorbell, you can link all this stuff up and then be able to share some of this information. So again, I know a lot of the stuff was repetitive tonight, but I do, and also Greta, our representative from the state, I'm glad you were able to come out tonight, because I want, you know, I live on a block, I want to live in peace too. I want to live in peace too. I've been in my neighborhood for about 25 years. And I will say, when we did have a group home over there, it was chaos for about a year or two. And so happily, they lost the client wasn't there anymore, and they shut the group home down. And not having staff with people that really, really need the help is disheartening. And I've seen people, clients by themselves, nobody with them, at somebody's door, knocking or banging on somebody's door, and that's unacceptable. You know, because I'm quite sure you guys pay these people to be there, you know, not to be on their phone, not to be walking a mile back just to let the client walk away or get out in front of them while they're texting or TikToking or whatever they might be doing, but just the fact that this person is in your care. And if it was my family member that needed to be in one of these homes, I would want my family member to be getting the best care, because that facility is being paid by Medicare, by their income that's coming in somehow, some way. But again, thank you for, I know this has been open dialogue, but thank you for coming in, and hopefully we can get some type of results for this area. Thank you.
Hey, Aaron, could I impose on you? I'm Chris, right here.
Yes.
Could I impose on you once by asking a question of your staff directed to them?
Sure.
Hi, thank you very much for being so candid and being able to come here, first of all, okay? I know it's kind of a hostile because of what the situation is. Are you able and have been instructed that if you can't handle a client, that you can call the police for assistance? I want them to answer, please. Have you ever had to do that?
Me personally?
Either one of you, all three of you. So then there is a police record of an incident where they were called to assist you with a client, right?
I heard someone say earlier where they had a situation where they tried to get information from the police. I believe it was a lady who said the client came in here, and she said that the police said, well, you know, we're not going to do a report about it. You know, the client is basically returning and leaving out of the facility. His staff is with him, and he's going to go home now. So they don't feel the need to write an incident report or criminal report or a police report. And so that's what happens, especially in cases with us, because we're managers and we know a lot of the police that be around here. So when they see us arrive or they see a client with us, they feel assured like, okay, well, we know Jerry or John is there because a lot of them know us on first name basis.
You interact with the police quite a bit.
I wouldn't say quite a bit, but I've been here for a lot of years. Yeah, I've been here. I've been on for 7 years. So,
you know the police.
yeah, I mean, I also stayed over here too. So,
Well, one of the things we talked about before you got here is when the police are called, you can ask them for a complaint number and ask them to have it documented, have it punched up. Then it is recorded someplace. And I understand police sometimes don't want to do a report because there's really been no crime. I mean, you could have pushed the idea that that was trespassing and then probably had a report. But you as caregivers or you as citizens can ask that a complaint number be assigned to the call. There should be.
Yeah, we're also reporting everything. So every time there's any incident, we have to internally report everything to every team that we have to for whatever particular client. So that meaning, that could be their care management team, their guardians, their probation officers, whoever it could be. We have to report everything to them. So although that the police might, obviously we can't make them decide to do a report or not, but if even if they don't, we're reporting everything. So it's
Right.
not.
But what we were talking about as a community is that somebody that's calling the police,
Yes.
and even if you call the police, you can say, I want a complaint number.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
ask
I
for a
understand.
complaint number because that is your proof that something's been documented. You can actually take away something from that interaction.
Proof to you guys.
Yeah.
Correct.
Mhm.
Well,
That's absolutely
and to protect
within.
yourself too.
Right.
So
Right.
that you have that.
So then you won't have that issue where, right. Mm-hmm.
But when we first, when you first meet someone to go into an interview, their first thing is not going to say, I've messed up before. Okay, people come in and there's been people that have slipped through the cracks. I'm not going to say our staff are perfect by any means, but do we tolerate that with staff when these things occur? We don't. I mean, we've dismissed more staff than I can count. I walk around town and I'm like, I fired that one, I fired that one, because although we might even be short-staffed, we're still firing that one because right now, if anybody in this room has ever had anybody that had a mental illness be around them or anything, it's quite an unpredictable experience. So like right now, as much as we would love to say, it's a very concrete black and white answer, we knew this person does this. I've went into homes and assessed clients where they didn't even have any information to provide the new provider with. So we're walking in there completely blind and it's, well, we just didn't have the staff. And come to find out, there's a lot more than what we were told. So we definitely do it's definitely not as black and white as I really thought it was when I first started this job. I thought, you know, you walk into the house, every caregiver should be able to tell you what meds their clients take. I mean, where the meds are, maybe their client's birthday and middle name. We know that stuff. There's a lot of people that don't. I mean, I walk into Ascension now, and they're very complimentary of us when we walk in. You guys know your clients. You guys are actually interacting with them. So we do some good.
But I think the neighbors are feeling that they're not being heard. And I'm glad everybody came out. Aaron just said, I would love to meet with you guys again in a month. Let's touch base. But those records that you referred to are your internal records.
No.
I'm sorry.
They
start off as internal records, but then they are sent to that individual's care team through either Inclusa or My Choice Wisconsin. And then there's a certain set of criteria, depending upon the type of incident, that is then escalated to DHS. But speaking to the frequency or the amount of police calls, our clients are allowed, unfortunately, to use the phone. And sometimes they do call 911. And we have to have enough documentation and proof to do something called a client rights limitation, which is saying this person is no longer entitled to this right because of A, B, and C. We're going to review it once a month, once a quarter, once every 6 months, once a year. And sometimes we're all on board with it, but if that guardian isn't, then we are back to the drawing board. We can't even lock up the phone. They have to have that phone. They have rights.
Yeah, my name is Jonathan Beckett. I'm a service coordinator at ANS.
Thank you, all three of you, for candidates. Thank you.
Oh, she wants to know how often the clients meet with their caregiver or not. Their team, Michelle. Okay.
Once a month face to face with them. So that's, and then every update for that whole month has to be basically provided at that meeting. Any updates that they give us, any changes in any status for that client has to be updated at that time as well.
And then one other question. Where do you three work? Because I live in this neighborhood and I see, and people with clients, and I've never seen you three, and you articulate well. So I'm saying, are you guys in these home with these clients, or are you working in an office? Because I've never seen either one of you three.
I see you all the time. So you might not have saw me, but I saw you. Okay, but
I see only really, I see about 4 people, and really,
so
not
right now we work in the office and we work at the program. So right now around these programs, we do just random pop-ins here and there to see. I am also. I pick up. I mean, 16 hours a day with these clients in the homes because that's where I started. That's where I enjoyed working. And then also now I do all of guardian contacts, care management contacts, behavioral tracking. I mean, everything that basically that client goes, doctor's appointments, menus, staff interactions, trainings. I have to do as many as I have to, no matter what day it is. I walk into work and it's something different every day. Yeah, no problem. You're welcome. Even like I said, I also live in this area, so I'm across Douglas. I'm not super close, but all I'm saying is I live in a quiet neighborhood. If I can make this easier for you guys as well, I mean, every person that's sitting right here is probably doing about 80, 90 hours almost a week. So I mean, we're here. We are always here. We're in these houses quite a bit. I mean, like I said, I feel like some of these things just needed to be talked about a little bit sooner so it could actually be situated. So I hope we can figure some of this stuff out.
Any other comments or concerns or questions?
I want to thank the 5 of you for coming today. I think we're going to wrap it up because several of our presenters need to leave. But I will have contact information for all of them. And I don't know if you guys want to set a date before we leave tonight or... Okay. So maybe we can stick around and talk for a minute after everybody else leaves. And we'll get the word out to the rest of you when we're going to reconvene. So... Yeah, I can, I'll just email it out to everybody. Please make sure if you didn't sign in that you do and you give me an active email address so I can send that out. All right. Thank you for coming.